Good morning, YouTube. It's me, the Commissioner. Um, start off by saying thank you for my first-time viewers, and thank you for the repeat viewers. It really means a lot, to have you guys come back here and watch these videos. Today's topic that I'm going to talk about before I go to work, it's probably going to be around. It's pretty much just a topic that everybody's been discussing since, the beefs that or the rap battle that took place earlier this year between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. I'm pretty sure at this time, everybody's pretty much had their level of think pieces, podcasts, TikToks, YouTube videos. I mean, they're even news anchors have mentioned this beef in different ways, in various ways. But for me, you may or may not know that I always like to take, certain things that I see out in public media and just kind of condense it into a format where you, as the individual, can use certain things that I've observed in your everyday life, unless you do plan on becoming a multimillionaire rapper, what I say pretty much has nothing to do with you. But, if you're like me, or if you see yourself or you can relate to a person like me that's just an everyday individual that's just trying to make it, sometimes these little, tidbits and stuff like that can help in certain situations. Or at least, if someone told me this when I was a little bit younger, who knows how my life would have turned out. But this topic is going to center around the art of aging gracefully. I know that this is something that is kind of, you would assume that this would be like common knowledge or just, common practice among certain people. But if you look closely at certain people's habits and certain people's mannerisms and the way they carry themselves on a day-to-day basis, there's a lot of individuals out here, men and women alike, that are just stuck in this perpetual motion of just adolescence. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with keeping a youthful spirit and just, keeping that upbeat, joyous, fun-loving nature if that's a part of your personality. This is more along the lines of individuals that have a hard time grasping the responsibilities and the roles of adulthood. What does that mean? That means dressing a certain age, dressing your age, allowing yourself not to be the center of attention in certain group dynamics, especially if it entails more younger audiences or younger people. And then just pretty much just having the demeanor of somebody that has gained and utilize wisdom from all the years of experience that they have spent living on this earth. So how does that tie in with Drake? I was born in the 80s. I'll start off by saying that, 87 to be exact. And, I've seen modern day hip hop progress from as early as the late 90s. For me, I'd probably say I was at the tail end when I started listening to hip hop, when Rockefeller records were literally fever white hot. DMX was around. I saw the rise of Eminem during the TRL 106 and Park era. I've seen a majority of the earlier rap artists that started from that era till now. And I think out of a majority of the rappers' rise that I've seen so far that has kind of had the longest run, I'd say between Kanye West and Drake, I'd probably edge it a little bit more to Kanye, of course, because he's a little older, but Drake is definitely the second longest rap artist that I've seen, whose music has spanned different and various generations. So when it comes to Drake, I think the issue that he's running into right now is that a lot of people, and well, maybe not a lot because I can't account for everybody else, but from what I've seen from what the consensus has shown, is that at the current age that he's at right now, which I'm not totally familiar, but I would like to assume that he's in his mid to late 30s, the level of mental or emotional or social maturity that you would expect from an individual at that age group, he just isn't showing. And in my opinion, I really think that was one of the reasons why his demise, and I can't say that he's been completely taken off of the board when it comes to the rap or the social media game. But the reason why his fall from grace was so loud was because I think on a subconscious level, or even underneath the outside praises of his accolades, there was always a little asterisk by him because of his lack of ability to show any form of maturity or progress. I'm not saying that he lacked the ability to be introspective and let people know who he was as a human being and as an artist. I'm talking more along the lines of, outside of this grand lifestyle that you portray, what else, as a 30-plus-year-old man living in America, coming from Canada and having the capacity and the ability to see the world, what do you stand for, or what do you stand on? And I'm not saying that those two things have to coincide with one another, age and maturity and your just overall outlook on life. But as you grow older, people tend to kind of, and maybe it's just from my experience, but people just tend to kind of look at you in a particular way because they expect for you to kind of carry a level of wisdom with you at a certain age, even though you might be in the same working level, or you might be in the same vicinity or realm of a person of a different age, of whether younger or older than you. When you look at an older individual, there's something in you, maybe like I said, it's like an innate feeling that you expect them to at least know or carry themselves in a certain type of way. So when you have a person like Drake, who is, and no disrespect to an individual like Lil Yachty, but when you have a person like Drake hang out with the Sexy Reds and the Yachties and various other up-and-coming artists, and not only does he copy their mannerisms, but he also adopts their style, and he also tries to, I want to say, force himself on a younger audience. It just rubs me the wrong kind of way, because it's kind of like, why are you doing something like this? And granted, I understand that, you as the entity and you as the product of Drake, you have to make sure that you have a clientele to buy your merchandise, which is your music and your lifestyle. But it doesn't make the process any easier, or it doesn't make what he's doing any easier to digest. It's very unsettling. So when you have an individual like Kendrick Lamar, who, and mind you, they were on the same XXL, or well, they were in the same group. They weren't in the same XXL magazine cover. I think it was just him and, it was him and J. Cole. I think there's a photo of them together, but mainly J. Cole, Drake, and Kendrick Lamar. They were all in the same class, I should say then. And you see the progression. So if you look at it on a scale, Kendrick is more on the left side, meaning he's more on the artistic side. he is reserved. He literally is a recluse, prior to this whole beef when it comes to him and just letting the outside world know who he is as an individual. He lets a lot of that speak in his music as opposed to hitting social media or blogs or any kind of interviews. Then you have an individual like J. Cole who somehow straddles the line as, he gives out information, but not enough. He hangs out with younger artists, but more on that. You can feel that he's taken the responsibility, especially at this juncture in his career, as just the big homie that, even though XYZ is rapping about this and that, here's my perspective on another side as the bigger homie, saying that you don't have to do all of that in order to make a come up, and then you have Drake, who's on the right side, and this has no political lean, but he's more on the right side as an individual that has just kind of, if he's talking about guns and women, I'm gonna talk about guns and women. If he's talking about smoking and gambling, I'm gonna talk about smoking and gambling. And mind you, I'd assume that they were almost all in the same age range. But just to see those three individuals and how they approach life as they get older, you can clearly see that some people are aging gracefully while others just aren't. So I know that was like a long-winded explanation. I just had a lot on my mind, and I'm happy that you guys are still here to, help me process through that. But how does this apply to you, as if you identify as like an everyday individual like myself? As I've gotten older, and I think I've always usually carried like an older spirit because of certain things in the past that had forced me to mature a lot quicker than most. But there's gonna come a time where you're just not gonna be the young buck anymore. For women, you're just not gonna be the young hot girl anymore. For guys, you're just not gonna be the strongest dude anymore. You're not gonna be the toughest one, because the up and coming generation are tougher, or from a perspective point of view, are more attractive. They're young, they have those opportunities, they've seen those that have come before them, they've taken certain things, they made it their own, and now it's their turn. And instead of clogging up the lane and slowing down and trying to hold on to as much of the limelight as you possibly can from the younger generation, you need to learn to step out the way. And a part of stepping out the way is, for me at least, this is simple things. Dressing in a certain manner that is befitting of somebody of your age and hopefully your status in life. Talking in a certain type of way when you're talking to certain individuals, especially those that are younger than you, that you see are coming up and they might not have all the tools that they need in order to traverse this world that they're just walking into. And if you do have the experience to give a lending hand, or to at least give a word of encouragement, you don't have to gatekeep certain information from certain people, especially if you can see a little bit of yourself in them while they're coming up. You have to be somewhat, in my opinion, patient with a lot of people when you're aging gracefully, because there has to be a level of empathy that you have to spread, because at one point you were that individual that you were looking at, and you were just as, or probably even more, hard-headed than them in their current situation. So for me at least, whoever wants to listen and whoever cares, I'm always in a position where I pull somebody to the side, or I give somebody a heads up, or I let them, I try to meet them at their level and explain to them like, hey man, what you're doing is amazing or what you're doing is not so good, you know. And I'm not telling you how to live your life, man, but I'm just saying I've been in a similar situation, and if you're confronted with X, Y, Z, and you have the options to do A, B, or C, I think you should lean towards A. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because I don't want to see you suffer the same fate that I did, or have to learn the same lessons that I learned when I was your age. And of course, you know, you're gonna run into some individuals. Nah, man, I ain't even trying to hear all that, man. Get out my face. You don't know what you're talking about, old timer. It's cool. It's fine. I don't expect for you to understand right now, but I've said it. You've heard it. It's in your brain. Whether you clocked it in on a subconscious or a conscious level, it's there already. And if you are ever confronted with whatever I explained to you or something similar to that, I just hope that whatever I said to you somehow helps shape your decisions. And I may never ever get the acknowledgement of even being there to help guide you or give you or put you on game. It's cool. But as long as you avoid the pitfalls and the mistakes, I'm all right. And I may never know if you ever avoided it. But hey, at the end of the day, I felt as if I did my part as a person that is trying to age gracefully. You follow me what I'm saying? So I think, you know, that's pretty much that's what's been on my mind and stuff like that since this whole beef has kind of unfolded. And right now it's literally the calm before the storm before the Super Bowl. As that time frame starts to pick up and more situations start to unravel, and I mean, I'll be here and hopefully you'll be here too, and we can talk about it more. But I'm pushing close to the 20-minute mark. Outside of that, please, you know, subscribe, rate, and I'm definitely looking forward to you guys commenting, because I'd like to know what you guys think about this. Is it something you agree with? Am I just stating the obvious? It doesn't even matter, because at the end of the day, I'm here to grow. And if you want to help me grow, or just want to be a witness, or whatever you want to do, feel free. Hey man, Commissioner out.